When I met her, I told her I was 30. I was actually 49. It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a joke. It was a choice. And if you think that's bad, just wait. Because the age was the least dangerous lie I told. We met in a bookstore. She was vibrant, curious, full of that energy I hadn't felt in decades. Her name was Eliza. I told her I'd just turned 30, that I'd finished grad school a few years ago, that I was still figuring life out. All of it sounded true when I said it, because I'd rehearsed those lines in my head for years. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? The beard covered the gray, the gym helped. I dressed young, I smiled when I spoke, I studied slang, and I stayed away from people who knew me by my real name. We dated for a year, then we married. She thought I was 31. I was already 50. For a while, the lie didn't matter. We were happy. We traveled, laughed, had 2 children. She built a photography business. I said I was a consultant. She never pressed. I stayed vague on the details. Clients, travel, meetings. I had a different phone she never touched. A second email, a separate bank account, all of it carefully hidden beneath smiles, birthday cards, and I love yous. But lies are like termites. You don't see the damage until everything starts to collapse. The first crack came on our 12th anniversary. We were looking at old photos, and she pulled out one I hadn't seen in years. It was from a New Year's Eve party. I was wearing a black button-up and holding a champagne glass. The date printed at the bottom, and she stared at the photo, then at me. "You don't look 29 here," she said with a soft smile. I laughed. It was a rough year. She chuckled, but her eyes lingered longer than they should have. After that, she asked more questions about my past jobs, about my childhood, where I went to high school, why I didn't have social media. I had answers, smooth ones, practiced, but her tone changed, no longer curious, suspicious, and that terrified me. I started locking drawers, erasing messages, clearing browser history. She noticed that too. "Since when do you care about privacy?" she asked. I said I was handling sensitive client data. She nodded. But her silence was sharper than words. Then came the night I'll never forget. I walked into the kitchen, and she was staring at my passport. She'd found it in my sock drawer, the one I never thought she'd check. She held it like a loaded weapon. "You're not she said. I didn't speak. "You're 64 still." I said nothing. Then finally, "What else aren't you telling me?" I didn't answer, because I couldn't lie anymore, and I couldn't tell her everything either. So I just said, "There are things I never told you, but it wasn't to hurt you." She stepped back, disgusted. "You lied about your entire identity. Your whole life with me has been a performance." "Eliza!" "No!" she shouted. I want the truth, all of it. But I couldn't give her that, not yet. Because the truth would unravel more than just our marriage. It would put others at risk. It would ruin lives that had nothing to do with her or me. She walked out that night with a suitcase, took the kids, said she needed time. What she really needed was distance from me, from the lies, from the man she never really knew. But I couldn't stop her because she was right. I stayed in the house, sat in the dark, waited for the questions that were sure to follow. And they came. A week later, a letter, No return address. Just a short note. They're asking questions. You need to disappear again. I hadn't seen that handwriting in years. And just like that, I realized this wasn't just about a lie. It was about something I thought I'd buried forever. Eliza didn't call. She didn't write. But I knew she was digging. She'd always been smarter than me. Curious. A week later, our oldest daughter showed up. She was trembling. "Mom found your other name," she said. "She showed me pictures. She said you changed your identity in 19... I closed my eyes, not in anger, in resignation, because I knew what came next. She continued. She found an old newspaper clipping about a man who disappeared after an investigation. There was a trial, and then nothing. I stood still. "Who are you?" she asked. I didn't answer, because I couldn't lie anymore. Not to her, not to Eliza, not to myself. That night, I opened the safe in the basement. The old ID, the envelope of cash, the flash drive, the one thing that could destroy me or set the record straight. And I asked myself, what's worse, being hated for the truth or loved for the lie? Eliza had changed. The woman I married wasn't even the same person who paced around our home office at 3 a.m., staring at an article on her laptop and whispering accusations in the dark. She was fierce now, determined, like someone who'd found a weapon in a drawer and decided to use it. The article she found was ancient, from 1997, about Dr. Damian Rhodes, indicted for grant fraud and embezzlement. She called me in a trembling voice. "That's you, isn't it?" I felt the callus of panic cracking me wide open. I didn't say a word, not because I had an answer, only because I was afraid of what truth meant now. 2. The confrontation came that evening. She sat at the kitchen table as if expecting me to thunder in with answers. Instead, I walked softly across the linoleum, stopped at the counter, and stared at my hands. She placed the printout of the article under my knuckles. "You're him," she said. I didn't blink, because blinking seemed like admitting guilt. But my throat seized. Her accusation cut through years of carefully constructed reality. "I never wanted this life," I whispered. "I'm not who you think I am." For hours, I explained. I spoke of a man who was accused of crimes he didn't wholly commit, of deadlines that became deadlines to disappear, of lawyers and anonymity and new Social Security numbers. I admitted lying about my age, my birthplace, my resume, every detail from the day we met. She sat quiet, carefully, like a judge circling the courtroom. "Why did you come to me? Why marry me?" she asked. "Because I built this life from scratch. But I also loved you." But love didn't stop the law or someone hiding in the shadows. A week later, an envelope arrived. I opened it in our kitchen. Eliza watched. Inside were photographs, high school graduation, a wedding to a different woman, my face exactly matching Dr. Rhodes. There was a ransom note. "Return what you owe, emotional or financial, or we go public." Her lips lost color, not for fear of him, fear of what the public would see. "We can't run forever," she said. We decided to seek legal counsel. The attorney was calm, formal. He said our situation was difficult, but not impossible. Identity fraud, statutes of limitations, defamation if public statements were false. But someone knew. Someone had power. 4. The kids noticed. Our daughter Anna came into the study. She set a folder of her own on the desk. "I did what I could," she said. "Friend research, threaded posts from university groups, mutual connections. He was seen with you in '96. I printed everything." She looked like a detective herself. She showed Eliza and me what she found online. Yearbook photos, dissertations, threat posts about Rhodes fleeing the country. It was official. Damian Rhodes was the man I really was. Our son, Sasha, exploded. How am I supposed to trust you now? Were the stories about me being your son lies? Was it just convenient? The betrayal cut deeper than any scandal file. It wasn't about identity. It was about heritage, family, belonging. Meanwhile, I tried to act normal. I drove the kids to university, attended PTA meetings, checked our bank statements. I pretended everything was salvageable. But as each day passed, threats escalated. Another anonymous letter arrived. "We watch your daughter dance. We know her dance moves. Pay." Now, it was no longer about my past. It was about my children's safety. I told Eliza. She did not flinch. 6. 2 nights later, we stood together outside our local police station, filing a complaint and giving that envelope to an officer. The detective, mid-50s, looked at me and his eyes softened. "The question is, do you want us to trace who sent this, or do you want us to trace your original identity?" Neither option sounded good. We left with a case number and a warning, emails, kissed, any correspondence from that sender, save Rodriguez. 7. At home, we locked down our life. Phones went into safes. Computers were wiped. We decided to protect ourselves slowly, legally together. If we were going to survive this, we would survive as a family. That night, we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Eliza whispered. "I don't expect forgiveness," I said. "I just want to fix this. Protect us." She closed her eyes, stared at the table's wood grain. "What do we do now?" I looked at her scars, not on her skin, but in her eyes, and I realized we're going to fight, not just for privacy, not just for safety, for a fragile truth that may never fully exist, and it would hurt all of us. A few nights after we filed the police report, I was jolted awake at 2 a.m. by the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. My heart raced as I stared at the text. He didn't just steal the identity, he erased a life. No signature. I woke Eliza. She sat up, is weird, but calm. "Another one." I wrapped my arms around her. "They're pushing us, trying to scare us." We lay there in silence, listening to the house breathe under us. Our lives had become a war zone. The next day, I told Anna I needed to talk about her scholarship trip. I pulled up a grainy photograph I'd printed, an image of me in it's holding an academic award wearing a name tag. Damian Rhodes, not the name she knew me by. I placed it silently on the dining table. She looked, then nodded. "Okay." No scream, no tears, just a long exhale. She took the photo and left without a word. Moments later, I found her in her room, clothes packed in neat piles. She'd decided to postpone her semester abroad. Our family fracture had just cost her dreams. We all went to therapy that week. Our counselor, Dr. Vega, didn't flinch. He pulled up a chair and asked me to face them. "Why did you lie?" Anna's question hit me like a punch. Because I was scared. Because I believed the man I used to be deserved death. Because I wanted a future, not a past. But I didn't say that. I said, because I fell in love with you. The person I became, Robert, wasn't possible as Damien. Eliza stared at me. For the first time, the hurt in her eyes was replaced by something else. Resolve. So now we're all left picking up the pieces. Things escalated fast after that session. Our phone stopped ringing. Instead, our house got keyed at night. "Where is he?" scratched into the paint on our garage. Garden hoses were cut, tires slashed. A message left at our front door, a single photo of a little girl, Anna as a toddler, with an inscription, "She was mine." Eliza called the police. I wanted to go back in hiding again, but she refused. "This is our home." She arranged for cameras, lights, alarms. I watched her and saw a woman rebuilding a fortress, not believing in safety. Then came the breakthrough. Late one night, Eliza got an anonymous tip. "We know where he's hiding." It included GPS coordinates near an abandoned mill. We decided to investigate together. Anna insisted on coming, her expression cold as steel. Sasha refused. He was furious and distant. We drove through pitch-black fields. Eliza held my hand in the passenger seat. Anna scrolled on her phone while I tried to bury the dread rising in my chest. The mill stood like a gravestone at dawn. Broken windows, a rusted sign, cold fog curling around it. We entered. Inside, old filing cabinets, papers strewn across the floor, bulbs hanging from the ceiling. And there, on a desk, were folders with Damien Rhodes's name, passports, photos of my academic awards from decades ago, and one troubling document, a signed confession of someone else taking blame for embezzlement. Someone had set me up, using my identity. The message was clear. The real thief was still out there, and Damien Rhodes wasn't the only identity I had to worry about protecting. I collapsed in the field. Outside the mill, my legs gave way. Eliza knelt beside me. "It was never just about money, was it?" she whispered. I shook my head. Back home, under the porch light, I looked at her and Anna, silhouetted against the house, strong and broken all at once. "We need to end this. Legal, police, but everything." Eliza nodded. "Together." But as I looked into her eyes, I realized the lie we uncovered was a living being now, active, dangerous, unfinished. 7. That night, Parker, the detective assigned to our case, came by. He asked for updates, then gave me a look that carried questions he didn't voice. Is he still among the living? Is this just the beginning? He left, but not before saying, "You're closer than most people think. Just be careful." We locked our doors tight after that. Anna left the next morning for her semester, alone but brave. Sasha stayed, his eyes hollow, arms crossed. Eliza and I held each other in the hallway. She said, "If the truth is the only thing we have now, then we bury everything else." I didn't know what that meant yet, but I felt the weight of words so heavy they could crush a world. 2 weeks after the mill reveal, I received a crisp white envelope. No handwriting, no stamps, only my name typed perfectly. Inside, a letter and a train ticket dated for that evening. Board at 8:15 p.m. One stop, Northern Edge. We talk or we stop. Fear and exhaustion wrestled inside me, but something stronger emerged. Resolve. I told Eliza. Her face went pale but nodded. Together, she said. We drove to the deserted station, Anna refusing to come, and Sasha staying back in anger. At 8:10, a man appeared. Not old, mid-40s, lean, face sharp as a rumor. He wore an overcoat and a fedora. No smile. "Robert?" he said. He didn't extend a hand. "Are you the one who took my life?" I flinched. He wasn't there to negotiate. He handed me a thin binder. "My sister. She was his assistant. When he disappeared, she died of grief and then a broken heart. I want to know if you're a protector or a coward." He walked away, disappearing down the platform. I held the binder. Inside, letters from the once-missing doctor's sister, voicemails she left for an impersonator she believed to be me, bank statements, his real research notes that matched academic papers I'd published. I stared across the tracks, not at him, but at the truth. It was cold enough to silence your crowing. That night, we sat in our living room. Liza flipped through the binder, personal letters, angled lies, my signature on research grants for someone else's work. She shut it. "Show your face to those you've hurt." She wasn't telling me to hide it. She was telling me to own it. We filed a second police report, this time naming the man on the platform, the real victim of identity theft. The detective brought expertise in white-collar crime and identity absolutism. He promised thoroughness, but hinted at the cost. Public disclosure. Me, who I was, family, who I'm. We agreed to a press strategy. Partial disclosure, enough to control the narrative of identity theft and threats, but insufficient to dredge up every detail. It was legal, strategic, and emotionally crippling. Our son, Sasha, returned one evening. He brought his suitcase, expression calm but hollow. "I looked at the binder," he said. I waited. "I forgive you," he whispered. "And I forgive myself," he added. I closed my eyes. The room rooted me in a fragile hope I thought lost. Months passed. The investigation stalled. The man who summoned me remained anonymous. But the police guaranteed, as long as files exist, he'll be traced. We lived with cameras, encrypted phones, locked mailboxes, and with a story our community didn't fully know, but felt. We lived with truth, my borrowed life, toil and shame, and the knowledge that real forgiveness looked like light touching broken glass. The days that followed were eerily quiet, like the breath you hold before a storm. When Sasha walked back into the house, the door clicked softly, but the silence rang loudly. He didn't rush in. Instead, he paused halfway, staring at the living room as though memorizing it. All the cameras, the binds of paper, the weight of our story. He carried the binder. Our gazes met. It was the first time he'd looked at me, not with anger, but with longing for someone else. He sat across from me without a word. I offered a nod. He nodded back. In that moment, words were too small. Eliza joined us, quietly setting down a steaming cup of tea in front of Sasha. "Family is more than DNA," she said, "more than truth. It's what we do next." He looked at her first, then at me. "For me, Dad, the truth was everything, but what you do with it, that matters more." We decided to organize a small press statement, one family, one message. We crafted it together at the kitchen table under soft lamplight. "We want to acknowledge a difficult truth. The man you know as Robert is not the man who shared our childhoods. He assumed a new name after a misunderstanding in 1997. Our family has faced threats and uncertainty ever since. Today, we choose transparency. We will not hide. We will not explain everything, but we won't live in fear." On the morning of the release, our daughter Anna came home. Her expression was firm. "I stand with you both," she said, "but be ready for fallout. People will judge." I hugged her, then Eliza did. We all felt the same knot in our chests, release and exposure. The next morning, we held a small press statement outside our home. 12 reporters, cameras, microphones. Eliza stood by my side, Anna next to her, Sasha behind us. My voice trembled but didn't break. "Thank you all for being here. We shared a difficult truth. I have lived under an assumed identity since 1997. I am not the man you thought I was. We will not answer every question, but we will answer with honesty from here on." The reporters pelted us with questions about legal consequences, emotional damage, the children's welfare. Eliza responded with calm dignity. Anna and Sasha supported with brief but powerful statements of forgiveness. Despite the chaos, a strange calm settled over us. Our secret was no longer hidden, and in that we found a brittle kind of freedom. The media swirl was instant. Some outlets framed me as a criminal. Others praised our transparency. The neighborhood reacted. Neighbors avoided our home, but others offered quiet solidarity. Friends were divided. Some rallied. Some whispered behind their doors. The children faced questions at school. Anna received messages of support. Sasha, more reserved, guided their younger peers toward understanding.